Aussie grocery giants could face harsher penalties following a move by the Greens to make price gouging illegal. Their policy would introduce a prices commission to monitor price gouging across supermarkets. Companies would risk hefty fines or being broken up if they're caught violating the law.
For more, we're joined by journalist Joe Hildebrand and author and radio presenter Sami Lukis. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Sami, first up, a recent poll found the price of groceries top people's cost of living concerns, ahead of rent and power bills. What are you thinking of this concept?
Oh, well, cost of living is, as we just heard, like the greatest concern for Aussie households right now. And it's a weird one with groceries because it kind of creeps up the pricing. I noticed this just recently because I was overseas for a month working. Now, before I went away, my sort of regular shop, my grocery shop, for someone who lives alone, doesn't cook much, has a small dog that doesn't eat much, demands a lot of attention but not a lot of food, my sort of basic shop was $90 to $100. Now, I was away for 4 weeks. I came back this week, suddenly the same shop is $120. I think, how did that happen in 4 weeks? And how is this affecting families of 4 or 5? You've got teenage boys in the mix. Oh, my God, I can't imagine. But this is the thing. We feel so helpless because price gouging is not illegal in this country. So, yes, Greens, I love what you're saying. Let's put it into action.
Joe, will this keep the supermarkets honest?
Well, the interesting thing is...
one of their phrases.
That's right. Well, the thing is that this commission is then going to report to the ACCC, the Australian Consumer and Competition Commission, which will then take action. Except that's exactly what the ACCC already does. The ACCC is already there to make sure that they're not doing this sort of stuff. And the ACCC is already investigating exactly this sort of thing, which is, you know, a case where it was reported to them that supermarkets were artificially raising prices for just a nanosecond and then sort of lowering them by less than they'd raised them and then pretending that that was a discount. And so anyone can basically fill the role of this commission that they're setting up just by going direct to the ACCC. And so
you're saying it's a double up?
It's basically just they've invented another layer of bureaucracy to tackle the problem. But certainly groceries is a massive issue. Food Bank, which is a fantastic organisation I work for sometimes, but they did a hunger report that they put out every year, and it's found that people are actually going without food just so they can pay the rent. And this is people who are fully employed, often,
the numbers are horrendous.
So they're starving because the rent or the mortgage is non-negotiable. You can't afford to lose their house, and so they're not eating.
All right, let's move on, guys. The WA Premier has apologised after he used some choice Aussie slang to describe US Vice President JD Vance. Premier Roger Cook made the remark during a question and answer session with a journalist yesterday, following Vance and President Trump's disastrous meeting with Vladimir Zelensky over the weekend. While the Premier labelled the comment light-hearted, WA Liberal leader Libby Mettam said Cook has his priorities all wrong. Joe, it's a very common Australian saying, but should pollies have a different standard, a higher standard?
Well, the thing is, he's not wrong. To quote the Big Lebowski and the fantastic Walter, he's not wrong, but is it actually a helpful thing to say? In the middle of, Trump deciding, whether or how much he's going to commit to AUKUS, which is going to be the difference between whether or not we're actually safe in the world from China or whoever comes next. In the middle of Trump deciding whether or not he's going to whack a tariff on our aluminium and steel exports, is it really a great idea? Notwithstanding the fact whether Trump decides whether or not he's going to defend Ukraine, is it really a great idea to call his vice president a knob at this point? Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but, much like Vlad himself, sometimes it's better just to bite your tongue.
Right. Sami, Cook has said he doubts the White House was listening. I think they're listening to everything, aren't they?
Like we know they watch the morning show.
Yeah, it's kind of naive to think that these comments don't make their way to America.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, the world that we're living in, the political climate, who knows what's going on? I think his words were, well, as Joe says, I think a lot of people agree with his character assessment, but I think his words were clumsy and unprofessional. I think it's one thing for an average Joe or Sam to call politicians, whatever we want to call them, a knob or a moron or a clumsy pants or a poot in his pants or whatever we want to call him. But I think for an Australian politician, I think he needs to choose his words more carefully. I think be better and don't lower yourself into the gutter that is the name-calling, bullying, lying and divisiveness that's running American politics right now.
Big words from someone who just called Joe average, but OK. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, team. We're back in just a moment.